This one hit me this morning. I think it's one of the hardest ones to play. I've avoided it for a long time. On the piano, I would just never even touch it. I'm one of those pianists that can, sight read through about 50% of the hymns at about half speed, and 25% of them at about three-quarters speed. And, yeah, there's no way. Anyhow, so it's a little bit of a simple arrangement. I've just been kind of improvising it. I would capo it on three. My capo is down at the bottom of my land, and I don't feel like walking down there. It's been a long week, and I just wanted to get this posted. Capo 3 would put you in the key of G. But anyhow, theory on really kind of, I wouldn't even call it a theory, just based on what George Washington's farewell address is. Public policy has gotten too invasive into our lives. Too much of our lives revolves around, oh, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to do that? What's the government say? What's the government say? And when in reality, the government's only supposed to have limited functions, and that's it. Washington said, don't let them take functions without it having, without the amendment process, without the Article 5 process. Article 1, Section 8 granted very few powers. The father of our Constitution said that's what it did. He said, don't misinterpret that general welfare thing. That's just a general phrase, and then we have the enumerated powers right afterwards. We didn't enumerate the rest of those powers just because you could take any powers you wanted with the general welfare thing. Same thing with necessary and proper. He said we didn't put necessary and proper in there as though they're a catch-all. You can do whatever you want. He's like, why else would we have enumerated all the rest of it? It doesn't make sense. And then to top it off, the Anti-Federalists insisted, and they're not Anti-Federalists, they just wanted more guards on amendments such as the 10th Amendment. So government was supposed to have a limited role, and instead we've got huge government and then indoctrination to affect public policy. And I think people can't stand that somebody like Charlie Kirk is out there, changing a lot of people's minds. I didn't watch him a ton. I liked him whenever I did watch him, but I thought he was a good guy. It seemed, respectful a lot of times with people he disagreed with. And I think the bigger deal is everybody wants to control public policy this way or that way. We have factions, is what Washington warned us of. If you suddenly start stealing all this authority for yourself here, or all this authority for yourself here, sooner or later, your people are going to get mad at you, get you out of office, and now this faction's going to get in, and they're going to want to use all that precedent of all that power that you usurped for themselves, but now against your favorite causes, right? Government was never supposed to be this involved in our lives. President Benson said it 5 million times. He's not the only one talking about true to the truth. As a matter of fact, how I triangulate truth is the most obvious thing in the world to me, according with our doctrine. We've got canonized scriptures called canonized for a reason. We've got 17 prophets, which they're the ones who, when they lived, were uniquely authorized to speak for the Lord in all things. And then we have the 15 living men, which includes President Nelson in this group and President Nelson in this group, right? Joseph Smith in this group and Joseph Smith in this group. There are certain things then that when you look and you try to explain them away, but you're like, oh no, that's the 15 men have spoken about it. President Oaks about the Constitution, for example. Tons of prophets, past prophets about the Constitution. And oh yeah, we just got done reading in Doctrine and Covenants about the Constitution. Certain things are just supposed to be defended. Charlie Kirk was pretty good at defending a lot of things that are clearly in all three of those sources. Marriage and fathers, and which shouldn't be controversial at all. Other stuff like that. So we've had a political assassination. It's very embarrassing that it happened in Utah, if you ask me, and I apologize for anybody who thinks that, Charlie said right there, I heard the quote this morning for the first time, that he was literally had just got done praising the church for sending out missionaries, and said we need to kind of get back our mojo and kind of, which we do. That's all there is to it. So anyhow, government shouldn't be so involved in our lives. Indoctrination shouldn't be so involved in our lives. And if it's going to be, they should just be having us read the Constitution a lot anyhow. There's no reason for us to have the Supreme Court, which the Article 3 doesn't even authorize them to interpret it for us. They just do. And it's usurpation is what we call it. When they exercise an authority not granted to them, that's a usurpation is what you call it. I know that J. Reuben Clark said otherwise, but he's the only one. And yeah, that's so. And I love J. Reuben Clark's writings, by the way. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on that. We need to be peacemakers, but the easiest way to be a peacemaker, stop exercising the force of government in every little thing in our lives. If the government exercises force and the government represents us, and the final highest level of government force against those who resist such and such law, right, is the ultimate possibility of them being arrested, and if they resist arrest, the ultimate possibility of them getting killed dead, can start taking public policy real seriously and butt out of most things in our lives, right? I'm sorry to kind of say it bluntly, but I think that's consistent. I saw the 10th Amendment Center cover George Washington's farewell address, and they always cover things timely. And as I studied his farewell address then and what have you, I think he was really trying to sell us, hey, if the government's going to get permission to be involved in your lives in one way or another, make sure it's done by the Article 5 process, or that it's already in Article 1, Section 8. Otherwise, don't do it, right? And people can't stand that public policy is getting affected. But that's my theory. Sorry, it's kind of a long rant. But gosh, you guys, all three of these little triangles right here that I just pointed out, the Constitution is covered again. Whatsoever is more or less than this comes of evil, as far as the government of man goes. And yeah, it's pretty much, obvious. So I'm going to play this again. I think we need to be true to the truth of that the Constitution, true to the truth of families, true to the truth of our Savior, Jesus Christ, that this is a Christian nation, true to all those truths. And I think Charlie Kirk was a pretty cool guy. I actually really appreciate what he did. And my condolences to anybody who knows him. I know that there are people around us that know him a bit, what have you, and here in Arizona. And yeah. So, all right, thanks for listening to me rant. I'm going to try playing this one more time. Fresh improvisation. I apologize if it's a little sloppy, so... Alrighty then. Have a happy Sunday. I am grateful for our eternal plan. I think a lot of us have been saying that we know when things like this happen, right? And by the way, anybody who tries to explain why he wasn't a unifier and dismiss the significance of what happened here, I would have you guys consider 3rd Nephi chapter 1, where they couldn't stand anymore, the believers who believed that the Savior was coming. Like, man, if he doesn't come soon here, we're just going to kill you guys all. That's unacceptable. Period. Just come out and say it's unacceptable. We don't have honest, wise, and good leaders right now. We have several, but not very many compared. Otherwise, there would have been a prayer in Congress for his family. There would have been a moment in silence over there with the EU Parliament. There wasn't. So these are not honest, wise, and good men. They're not honest. They take an oath to the Constitution, but they don't follow it. Or else, if they don't know it, then they're not wise for taking an oath to something they don't know. Right? And they're not good. There's nothing good about assassination. Anyhow, I apologize for my... I'm going to play this one more time. I want to try it again, you guys.